Today we're going to meet someone very special. It's a friend of the family's we've known for many years on this beautiful Anzac Day 2021, and we're going to find out about his experience in World War II. So let's go meet him.
Mr. Chamberlain came on to declare war on Germany.
Wow.
And Mr. Menzies soon afterwards declared war too on behalf of Australia. That was in 1939. Well, I was, how old? I was 14 and still at school. So nothing much happened. My brother went off to New Guinea, and when I was 17, in 1942, I decided that I would rather join the Air Force than the Army, so I joined the Air Training Corps, which practically guaranteed that when you called up you would go into the Air Force. So on the 30th of January 1943 I entered boot camp, as the Americans called it, at in the northern suburbs of Sydney. And later on I was selected for a wireless air gunner course, so off to Maryborough in Queensland for 6 months to do an intensive wireless and Morse code course, so that Morse code became a second language. And then off to air gunnery school at Evans Head, back to Sydney, and in December 43 sailed for America on the way to England. Fortnight later we were in San Francisco, and then across America to New York, and a little later via the Queen Elizabeth, which was a brand new ship then, arrived in Scotland and off to camp in Brighton. Now after a while in Brighton, doing practically nothing except marching around the town, I got a bit restless, and an appeal came from Coastal Command authorities in Plymouth for 2 air gunners, and my mate Fred, Cat and I decided we would go. So we both went down to Plymouth in March 44, and that's when my war career really started. We didn't go to A2U, Advanced Training Camp, we went straight off into service. There were only 2 episodes that I remember particularly during my service. One was when we encountered a German submarine, I think it was July 1944, and we had a fight with it, and we won, and we sank it. Now, our captain particularly was a very humane man, and I don't know how many young Germans were lost, but we dropped rifle-offs for them, and it was interesting enough that years later, in the 50s I think, our captain met the German captain somewhere in Germany. So at least some of that crew was saved. And another very interesting episode happened. Of course, I might add that most of the time we spent patrolling the empty sea, looking, and being bored terribly. However, one day, also I think it was in August, we got a message that a Wellington had been shot down by a submarine the previous night. So we searched for the dinghy, and we found that, and the sea was like a mill pond that day. This was on the Atlantic or the Bay of Biscay. So we were able to land and rescue some of the crew. One of the men were hanging on to the dinghy in the ocean, in the cold water, and one had died during the night, and one had a broken leg, but the rest we got aboard and saved. And the only other thing of interest was that one day also, I think in September that year, we were flying at 10,000 feet, which was our normal patrol area, when one engine caught fire. We had 4, so the captain immediately went into a steep dive to get down towards the water, and the engine, fortunately, alive, burning, fell out. So we landed on the water and just climbed on top of the plane and waited for a rescue boat to come and get us. So that was the most important things I remember about the war.
Wow.
And early in 1946, I arrived back in Australia, and my 3 years in the Air Force came to an end. Amen.
And we really honour your service, Richard. It's really amazing, and you know, we probably wouldn't be talking here today without veterans like yourself who won the war, and we're really inherited a courageous legacy from veterans like yourself, and you know, we're forever in your debt. And I guess, did you still have any friends from the war? Just couple of other questions.
I think they're all dead.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
I think they're all dead.
You might have lost some mates. And what type of plane were you flying? Were you flying a Catalina or?
We Sunderland flying boat. That's why we were able to land on the sea.
Right.
And I must say, compared to what the people in Bomber Command went through, that I had a pretty good war.
Yes.
Because apart from the cold and getting up at midnight and things like that, it was nothing like. We were rarely attacked by fighters. Occasionally from the French coast we would get artillery fire coming up if we got too close, but apart from that, nothing like what Bomber Command people went through.
And I guess that you were out to seek information on your missions, but also you were ready to defend yourself. You had weapons and bombs potentially to.
Oh yes, we had a lot of machine guns.
Wow.
We had 3 turrets, and we could open the side of the plane and have another one if we needed to. But I was either on the wireless or on one of the turrets all the time, and we transferred. Unfortunately, during the attack on the submarine, I was on the radio, so I didn't see anything at all of it.
Well,
I knew that everybody at 18 would be called up, and that's why I decided I wanted the Air Force and joined the Air Training Corps, so I'd go into the Air Force rather than the Army.
Yep.
And now I'm 96.
And did you actually were awarded some medals, I take it?
Oh,
Yeah.
we got the usual collection of medals,
Yep.
but the only one that I really regard is the Atlantic medal, because that was my theatre of war. The others were just because you were in the war, etc., etc., etc.
yes.
And recently, I'm not wearing it, we got a pin to wear for having survived 75 years of peace.
Is that right?
But I think only about 10,000 people are still alive. This one,
Okay.
which is the Air Force, and it's got my number on the back, which I know backwards, 432971, and that is our Atlantic Star, and it's got a bar for France and Germany, which I feel that I don't really deserve, because we were never over Germany, and we were only over the French coast at times. And the other 2 are just because you were in the war. My brother, of course, has the Pacific Star, or had.
Wow.
But these 2 are the important ones,
Yeah, the stars.
being in the Air Force and the Atlantic Star.
Yes.
So I guess just to wrap up, you know, I take my hat off to you. Really appreciate your service to Australia, and
What I did, thousands of people did. I was one of the lucky ones to survive too.
And I guess, do you have a special message for future generations in regard to war and that sort of thing? You feel?
What do you think it taught us?
It's nice to think that the younger people still attend the dawn services and the services elsewhere too.
Yeah.
I can't anymore. I last attended a march in 15, but it wore me out. One night in 1942, I was sitting on the veranda of our house in Neutral Bay, and suddenly I saw that there was a lot of activity on the harbour. I could see searchlights and heard explosions and things. I didn't know it, but I was watching the Japanese submarine attack on Sydney Harbour.
Wow. Oh my God.
And I didn't know what it was.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing chat with an incredible World War II veteran, 96 years of age, born in 1925. Recollections absolutely perfect. Just say hats off to you again, Richard Prentice, amazing man. Thank you for serving our country.